If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 388 of Picks and Ponies right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining us tonight as we have a usual doubleheader on Thursdays. If you're not familiar now with our schedule, again, as we are filming this live Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have two shows we're going to be presenting to on Thursday nights now that the NFL schedule has been changed, of course, with the end of the season, the playoffs. We'll always go 8 p.m. Eastern with this show, Picks and Ponies. And then at 9:30 Eastern, we'll do our shorter but very important Great Race Plays show featuring Santa Anita. So please join us for both shows. Of course, we will take a little bit of a break in between the shows. We'd greatly appreciate your viewership and your faithful listens and everything else. Tonight on this show, we are covering Tampa Bay. We haven't been to Tampa Bay in a while, but they are beginning their Kentucky Oaks / Derby Road. They have three major stakes days. This is the first of those three, and we're very proud to bring you some stake races and other races from Tampa Bay Downs coming up this Saturday. Before we do that, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, bottom right-hand side of the screen, notification bell, top right on YouTube, and smash that like button. Greatly appreciate it. You can listen to us, of course, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. The tip sheet. The tip sheet started with an absolute bang. The tip sheet right now, the ROI, are we ready for this? 385, because we crushed it last weekend. And if yours truly had some more guts and other body parts, it would have been up to $6 or $7 because I tipped out a bunch of winners, but some of them I only went $1 win in place instead of $2 to win. That being said, the tip sheet, please take a look at it. Again, it's very inexpensive, very profitable. Look below the video player for information on the tip sheet. As it ended, it's coming up now on 4 years, actually, in a few months, of approximately 220 ROI, way over the national average. We've got a great website, of course, hhhracingpodcast.com. All right, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to bring on my co-host here in about 30 seconds. But because what we're tipping out today, the Tampa Bay sequence is only a pick 4 based on where they have their stakes, we have a few minutes to talk about some of the races from last Saturday at Gulfstream that we covered here on the show. That would be the Mucho Macho Man and then the real nice turf Philly stake. And we're going to take a look at both of them very, very quickly. But before we do that, I have to bring in my wonderful co-host. Let's bring him on first from the chilly Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the, shall I say now, award-winning Saratoga Special. Perhaps Paul Halloran will inform us why. There he is, Mr. Paul Halloran. How you doing tonight, Paul? And
Hey, Howard.
hi, how you doing? And from the maybe not so chilly, I'm not so sure, East Coast of Maryland, let's bring him on, Mr. Pete Visco. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
It's freezing here as well, Paul. So you're being happy company. It's
Pete, it sucks.
a nice
I
24
hate
here.
it. I hate it. It sucks. I hate it.
Did I ever tell you, Paul? Not to get off on a tangent. When I lived in Boston, I parked my car. I used to live in Southie, Paul, and I parked my car in the backyard, and we got one of those like 1.5 to 2 foot storms. I literally didn't get my car out until like March of the next year. So it was basically that. And then I came home from a business trip, Paul. You'll like this. I lived on one of those little tight Southie streets. And I'm putting the key in my door, and I look over my shoulder, and I'm like, damn, that car is messed up. That sucks. And I look at the license plate as the fender is sitting on the ground, and I'm like, shit, that's my car. And it must have been a plow. You know, like the plow clipped my fender and just knocked the front of my car onto the ground.
Oh,
So
boy.
those are my two winter stories from my time in South Boston.
Yeah, winter basically just sucks. I mean, I've lived here all my life in the Chicago area, and I still don't like it. I never will like it. As we get a little older, a little arthritis starts kicking in and other stuff. It just sucks. But anyway, I'll tell you what doesn't suck is our viewership, guys. Mike Saletta, who's absolutely been crushing it in our contest. I'm finally making a live show. Been too long. Hello, Katie, one of our great viewers, HHH crew. What's up, Mike? Thanks for joining the show. Paul Collins, so if there's any chance I'll be drinking White Claws. No, I have. I think this is this must have been left over. I have a winter spiced cranberry flavored Sprite from they must have had this on the shelves too long, and limited edition though, Paul, limited edition Sprite.
Save that bottle.
Oh yeah, don't forget that. Let's see here. Who else we guys have in the chat, guys? Jim Pilars is here. What's up, Jim? Appreciate your viewership. Terry Frank is here saying hello to Mike. Ralph Conti said, Pete, you should have been living in the north end of Boston. That would have been the better place to
Where
live.
the streets are even tighter.
I fit better, as Paul would know. My personality fits a little better with the Southie folks, and then I moved up to Somerville. That was my last haunt there. Wow. It was a little nicer there, a little less Southie.
Pete, right now, Pete, you honestly you may not afford Southie. Southie is
it's
going. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Guys, before we get started, and we could certainly wait for our Great Race Plays show to mention this, but again, thoughts and hearts out to everyone in the LA area. It's just awful. Our wonderful partners at Santa Anita, they canceled the card tomorrow, which is Friday as we're filming here. The weekend's up in the air. I have a feeling they're going to be canceling that also. No pun intended with the up in the air, because it's going to depend on the air quality. The track itself is not in any danger. The fire is farther away from that, and the smoke's going in a different direction. That being said, the air quality's no bueno out there, guys, and we'll see what happens. We are going to cover the late pick 4 coming up at 9:30 Eastern here, and a few other things, Santa Anita. But again, my brother lives in the LA area. Fortunately, he's in an area that's really not fire prone. He lives by the ocean, and he should be fine where he is. But it's scary as hell, guys. And in terms of horse racing in particular, I know the trainers had the opportunity to move their horses if they wanted to. And look, guys, they're doing everything they can in a horrible situation out there.
Yeah, it's terrible. The pictures look like a movie scene. They're so devastating.
Bad, real bad. Yeah. So anyway, thoughts out to everyone on the West Coast, and we complain about snow, guys, but I think it's better than trying to drive through a fire NATO. I suppose would probably be worse. So
yeah.
Anyway,
all complaints are relative. Doesn't mean we can't complain about being cold every once in a while. Yeah.
Here's what I want to do, guys, real quick. We're only going to cover 4 races at Tampa Bay. We appreciate everyone's viewership. And Oaklawn canceled, as Rob mentioned as well. And actually, they just moved the LA Rams game to Arizona, guys. That just happened within the last hour, I believe. So again, everything's being moved, and we'll see about Santa Anita this weekend. I want to talk about 2 races really quickly that we talked about, guys, on the show. The first one I want to talk about, and again, we're going to do this pretty quickly, is the Mucho Macho Man, which was won by a horse named Guns Loaded on the lead. I got to tell you guys, as we watch the replay, I'd love to hear a reaction. I don't think this is the strongest field we've ever seen. The buyers, let me make this a little bigger. The buyers did not come back very impressive. Guns Loaded got a 79, and he got a pretty easy lead, Pete. And be honest, I didn't love the way he finished. He sort of went into the rail a little bit, which he did in his main victory 2 back. And this is just not the kind of effort, in my opinion, you want to see going 2 turns and long. I would have liked to see an acceleration through the wire. I do want to say, I want to give you credit, though, Pete. You were the only one on the screen, I think, who did pick Guns Loaded. I didn't think he'd get away with such an easy lead, but I don't love the way he finished, to be honest.
No, I didn't either. And considering I didn't have the 4 on whatever ticket I had played, I was hoping the 1 would last. And yeah, I thought it was a nice enough race until the end. And you don't know if it's hard to improve that as the races get longer. So that's a little scary. And again, you said the figure didn't come back strong. So this doesn't look like a horse to me that would jump out and be like, oh, I need to play that horse even further necessarily on the Derby trail. But you say that until you have to see what the fields are, but I wouldn't look at him as any sort of Derby contender or anything at this point.
Paul, getting with the slow pace and finishing a final, actually, that's not a final quarter. It's going to be a final, I think it's 3/16 in 26 and change. That's just not going to get it done. This horse might be a nice sprinter, and maybe we'll see possibly, Woody Stevens, if he's really that good, or the, Jerkins kind of horse. I suppose Pat Day Mile, again, if he's really going to be that good. But I didn't like what I saw in the end at all. This is just 138-4 is relatively slow.
Yeah, I think we talked on the show. I mean, I picked him second. I picked the 5 who did not run well. But, we did talk about the possibility. I think I mentioned, between having the rail at that and Louis and, Louis going to be forward. It was predictable. But I do agree with you, Howard. The way he finished would not lead you to believe he's going to want to stretch out. They're still very young 3-year-olds, so
Yep.
we don't know just yet. But he was the favorite for a reason in that race. It was hard to it went pretty easily for him. Let's just put it that way, right? It wasn't that stressful till the
I'll
end.
tell you what. By the way, we have a new name in the chat. I love when they say our new names, and I don't know if this is true, and I don't know who. Russ Nees, thanks for joining the show. I'm not sure who his sources are, but he said his sources say Sam Need is canceled
Well,
until
I mean,
January 16th.
yeah, we'll
That'd
talk
be a
about it on
week
the
from
other
today.
show.
But Paul, that's already incorrect because they're running next Thursday, which is the 15th. Correct?
They are running Thursday, and I understand.
But we understand what you're saying, Russ. We understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, they moved an NFL game on Monday. They're not running Saturday and Sunday. And
I wouldn't think so.
I'm not sure what the delay is. I'm sure they have good reason. Obviously, you don't want to cancel 3 days in a row, but geez, Oakland just had to do it for weather reasons down there. I remember we had the smoke from Canada a couple of years ago, Howard. I was on the way to Belmont, and the Thursday card
Oh yeah.
got canceled
Oh
because
yeah.
of so it's uncontrollable, and God forbid the people we have bigger problems than missing races than the people who are dealing with it. But anyway, yeah, I just said I think Guns Loaded got kind of a predictable trip. He did look a little weary at the end, as you and Pete pointed out, and we'll see going forward. But I wouldn't be tripping over myself to play him in the next Derby future.
It is funny though, right, Paul? Because you look at the breeding, and just on paper, you're like, oh, this horse should love the stretch out. So it just goes to show that even that it's not always super reliable. But we can see if that changes. But
you guys, if you don't analyze your own handicapping and own ticket instruction, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Here's where I screwed up because I did not like this horse at all. What I screwed up and not looking carefully is this horse is trained by D'Angelo, right? The horse who is outside was taking blinkers off. They were truly, I thought it would be a speed duel, right? They were obviously trying to relax Macho Music. And then the other main speed, which I didn't think about carefully, is another D'Angelo. So they're not going to press the one. The 2 was taking blinkers off. The 6 didn't break great and had no desire. And the main speed, the 7, scratched. So you know what? That's just a case where, guys, I didn't look at it carefully enough. Pete, you snuffed out the 1. I wouldn't like the 1 going forward, but you do have to look at intent and who these other speed horses are, because there was reason, Pete and Paul, to believe the 1 was going to get loose, and I just didn't look at that carefully enough, to be very honest. So
yep,
yeah, I think
sense.
you got to look at that. The other race we got to talk about, guys, and I'm proud of this pick, even though it was a low price, the Ginger Brew. I got to tell you guys, now we had a fun discussion. You guys like Chavetta quite a bit, the Godolphin. I really like Nitrogen. It's nothing special. The horse was 8-5. I got to tell you guys, of all the races this weekend, this was one of the most confident, and I would say in a good way, arrogant, flat out arrogant ride. Again, not arrogant ride, but not in a negative way, by Jose Ortiz. Guys, Jose Ortiz, like on the turn, I was like, what is he waiting for? Like, what? He was loaded. And this horse, guys, we're just going to show the stretch run. She ran hard for what, guys? A 16th of a mile? I mean, 7-8 seconds, right? I mean, he didn't even ask. I'm just going to take it to the top of the stretch. He didn't even ask her until like top of the stretch, and not even after that. It was just she's the 10 here, guys. I don't know about you. I thought this was a much better than
leave it there, because he's not even thinking of asking her yet on the turn.
No. Civetta got a perfect trip, by the way,
Yep,
also.
he
Again,
did.
Savetta, I
Yeah.
remember watching the race. For some reason, I hated Irad's ride. I don't remember why, though.
look at this,
Uh,
guy. This is like, I'm sorry, this is like a fucking hammerlock, excuse my language. And they're on the turn, and it's not like a big stretch either, Pete and Paul. Sorry, go ahead, Pete.
no, I don't remember why, but I remember watching the race live. I hated Irad's ride for some reason. Not that I don't think he would have been able to hold off Nitrogen, but I didn't like the ride, or I didn't. There was something about it. I don't even like how he's standing up. I don't even like what he's doing. I just hated it. But Nitrogen was just loaded. But
Well,
actually,
I think,
Howard, you say that though, but maybe it's better to know the horse. And sometimes with these closers, they're sort of one run, and we see that this horse has a huge kick where maybe you don't want to use the horse and try and use it too much on the turn. You just wait your spot and go. And if you know you're loaded, you could do that as opposed to wasting it early and maybe sapping that kick a little bit.
you could be absolutely right, Pete. And Paul, I'd love to hear your opinion as again he comes over the top. Well, let me make two comments then, Paul. I want you to piggyback, and then we'll go into Tampa Bay. I think Irad was just confident, Pete. I just think he thought he had plenty of horse under
Yeah,
there.
that's what I didn't
Again,
like. Yeah, it was too
right, I
confident.
understand. And in terms of Nitrogen, we talked about in the show. You guys are absolutely right. This is a means to an end, right? This is not like their main target. I think was it Lynch, right? No, Cassie?
Cassie.
Cassie, right? I'm guessing, guys. Cassie told Jose just use her in the last 16th of a mile, and if you get there, great. And if you don't, you don't. And I think I'm not sure like the horse only has a short run, Pete. I just think this wasn't their main target, and she was just so damn good, she just won anyway. Would you agree with that statement, Paul, or do you think she only has a short burst and he was waiting for that
Well,
burst?
no, I mean, she certainly was so damn good she won anyway. I would agree with that. It's just hard to tell because the way she was ridden. And, Cassie figured out if she didn't get up, he could just go back and win a maiden race. We talked about that on the
Yeah.
show. But just, you mentioned it on the show. She was ridden way differently, really had no chance coming from that far behind in the
Yeah.
Breeders' Cup. But the other two races she ran at Woodbine, she was right on the pace. So
Right.
I would say they have some options with her going forward.
Yeah, I think she could be a major threat this year. And I was just personally, I was happy. I needed her to win, and I thought she was just. That's one of those things you're going to see in the PPs, Pete, and you're like, oh, that was a nice win. And then you watch the replay, you're like, oh my goodness, 22-1 final quarter, Pete. I know it's firm turf
awesome.
at Gulfstream, but that was not a lightning fast pace. That is a serious close for a 3-0.
Yeah, and I mean, on paper, she looked like the best horse too. It's just you worry sometimes. It's hard playing horses, especially at Gulfstream, that most likely are going to be coming from the back. So that's always the concern with a horse like that.
We also should mention the number 2, Love Severi, who hit the rail on the first turn and just had not a great trip and ran huge for Christophe.
Yeah,
Lamont,
a little too big.
Yeah.
So those of us who had a big double into Savetta and then backed up with a big exacta Nitrogen over Savetta. The two ran. I needed her to hit the rail again.
All right. Well, I'm sure the
just lightly, nothing dangerous,
to
knock her off.
That was
the horse a little bit.
It wasn't for huge money, but Savetta not running second was a tough beat. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, that was anyway. Fun races. We'll see where those, and we're going to talk about some Santa Anita races, guys, also on great race plays as well. We're going to try to do that a little more often, guys. Just sort of very quick recaps before we get into our picks. All right, guys, let's go to Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay Downs, again, as I said in the preview there, guys, or the intro, excuse me, they've got 3 main big stake days. There's a lot of these tracks too. I mean, Fairground does this, etc. This weekend is sort of the first of the 3 preps for the Oaks and the Derby. So it'll be interesting to see, if some of these horses come back into those races and stay in the Tampa circuit. Now we're going to cover quickly the middle pick 4. Pete thought that would be a good idea, and I totally agree with him. We're going to cover races 4 through 7 because the 3 stake races are not in the late pick 5, or actually, one of them is. One of them
just
is.
one.
One of them is. I'm guessing because of the field sizes, but anyway. So we're going to cover races 4 through 7 tonight, everyone. So the first race we're going to discuss is right here. It's the Pasco. It's 7 furlongs, $150,000. Again, this is at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday. Weather is supposed to be fantastic. Relatively small field here of 6. Big morning line favorite, the number 6, Owen Almighty for Lynch and Irad. Let's go ahead and bring up our banners and see where we're going in this race. I'm going 6-4-5. Paul going 4-6-5. And Pete is going 6-5-4. We're all going at the logical 3. Really not much to add to that. Paul, you're the outlier. Talk about rookie card, a very talented Florida bred 3-1 Gargan and Alvarado. I'm sure you're familiar with this horse because this horse ran in your beloved home track, so to speak, of Saratoga this summer.
Yeah, this is I think this is a pace play, Howard. I think that Junior has a chance to open up a lead that is going to be enough to hold on. I mean, the 6 obviously ran well in the Uruguay, which has produced 2 next out winners. He was chasing a slow pace and still closed a little for second. But that rookie card maiden race at Aqueduct comes back okay when Treaty of Rome ran, I believe, second in a stakes
the race we
somewhere
just
less.
watched. Well, that was just the one we watched. That was Guns Loaded or whatever the hell the name of that
it was
horse.
the Guns Loaded race. That's correct. Yeah. So the Mucho Macho Man, yes, he ran second. So I think that this is the fastest horse in the race, and despite the stretch out, I think there's a chance that Owen Almighty might be again chasing the slow pace and not get there. And I am going to play the 4. I would like that. I would like the 4 to there to be that much a difference in the speed as time form
At
predicts.
the end of the race, too, Paul. You want to look like that, right?
That would be great, Pete. It doesn't have to be that much at the end. Just to...
Paul, this horse reminds me of Guns Loaded. I don't think this is going to be a Derby horse for Gargan. You've got Adios Charlie out of a Vindication mare. This smells big time sprint. And as you mentioned, I would assume you're going to agree with this. I thought the Tip Top Thomas maiden race was the best 2-year-old maiden race at Saratoga all summer. That was an unbelievable race, an absolute war. Rookie card ran huge. Did come back and disappoint them, but then won last time, which was several months ago now, with a 80 buyer. He'll have to improve, but he might be loose, as you said. And I would assume you would just want to be loose and just go on with it. Would you want to see him open him up or try to rate him a little more? Because he is going 7. He's never gone 7 before.
Yeah, I think I'd want to take my chances with just get as much of a lead as you can.
Go
and you're right about that race, how that was Travers Day, and it's not unusual to see Travers Day maiden races produce good horses. But I think the opportunity could be here to open up. But I'd like to see how it is him open up without really having to ask him that much to open up.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I know it's an extra furlong, but we've talked about that. Sometimes the speed horse going a little longer is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. So we'll see how it goes. But I think he's got a chance to wire the field.
By the way, guys, I got some breaking news I think I want to share after this race. How about that? A little tease there.
Nice
you guys
tease.
Even you guys don't even know. It's really not that big a deal, but some people might care. I'll just leave it at that. Owen Almighty. Pete, this is a class play for me. I'm assuming it is for you. This horse lost to Jonathan's Way last time. Okay, maybe it wasn't the best grade 3, but he's faced really nice horses. He figures to sit a great trip. Irad's in town. That's important to note, everyone. Irad's riding at Tampa Bay, and he goes here. I understand the 4-5. Obviously, we're going to take a low price, Pete. But again, as I've talked about in this show a bunch of times, sometimes a horse just looks like he's going to trip out perfectly. Unless he stumbles, it's really hard for me to believe Owen Almighty is not going to sit a great trip here.
Well, that was my thing. So the way Paul talked about the race, I think makes perfect sense. If I was him, my only concern would be with a horse like Owen Almighty. I think Owen Almighty might just be a better horse, and I think the 7 furlong will suit him better just because he's done it before and's gone longer. And I just think he's good enough to be tactical, to sit close and then sort of attack rookie card, hopefully at the top of the lane and then see if Rookie Card can hold him off. I think if Owen Almighty was coming from a lot farther back or something and was more reliant on the pace that the leader was going to set, then I'd be a little more concerned. But I think this horse I think Iraq could keep him close enough to Rookie Card to make it to where it's not relying on the pace as much as him just maybe being a better horse.
If I were playing this middle pick 4, Pete, and we've switched to best bets instead of giving sequences out, I know the horse 4 to 5. We're not saying anything interesting.
No.
But I would be tempted to just single him and take my chances in the pick 4. If I lose, there's the old pick 3, as Paul would say. So
well, that's what the decision you have to make, right? Do you single or do you waste equity on trying to go a little deeper? That's always the decision in these races. We also, one quick thing I want to mention, you hit a point at the beginning, Howard, where you were talking about, you're not sure if Rookie Card is a Derby horse, and I agree with you. We just have to be careful as handicappers in general when we're looking at some of these early prep races that we don't handicap them for the Derby. We handicap them for the race that they are. And Fair point. Is a 7 furlong sprint, not a 2-turn route that is going to be indicative of how you're going to do in the Derby. And I think we get away from that sometimes because you look at the horse that you like more for the Derby and you play them today when maybe they're not, maybe like Paul has the better play today, but Absolutely. Obviously I think Owen Almighty could be better down the road.
It's a very fair point. By the way, the next race, as you guys know, probably is the Sam F. Davis, which I think is a mile and 16th. I'm pretty sure of that. Owen Almighty, by the way, out of Speightstown, but out of a Bayern who had quite the I don't want to say checkered, but was injured and then came back. Really cool story. Temper's Rising, the dam, was actually more of a 2-turn horse. So just to your point exactly, maybe Owen Almighty, his day will not be this Saturday. Maybe Paul's horse will win Saturday, but we'll wait and see. Guys, here's the little breaking news announcement. Our Saratoga group, which of course we hope at some point, we hope that you guys will be there. But, and I say the Saratoga group, I'm mainly focusing on myself, Matt Miller, Brad Anderson, like our core people, Pat Kunzel, etc. We have picked out our dates for Saratoga this year. Mr. Miller is going to Japan this year with his family, which is pretty cool, which has altered our plans. But we are going to be, ladies and gentlemen, and I say we, I mean most of the podcasts. I can't speak for everyone. Most of the podcast talent this year for this upcoming summer will be at Saratoga the week of August 4th. We will be either from August 6th to August 10th. That is the week after the Whitney. It's a bit of a quieter week. We actually didn't pick the week because of that. We picked it because of a lot of other conflicts and things. But Paul, you're obviously a veteran of Saratoga. I don't mind going there on a week that's a little bit lighter. You can get around the town a little bit easier. It's not so crazy and crowded, and I don't really mind going on a week that's not,
don't count on it being not crazy. That's the Saratoga yearling sale on the 4th and 5th.
We're not going to be there till the 6th, actually. So.
Oh, okay.
But fair
that's
point.
Too bad because it is really too bad because I leave on the 3rd, I think. So. I may have to return.
Hey, you should. You should.
Or never leave, Paul. You just stay. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Now, Pete, now you're talking. Can you send an email to my wife, Pete?
I'll have to talk to her. Well, I'll have to talk to her separately to sweet talk her a bit about that.
I do not see that changing, guys. So anyway, just want to let you two know, actually, and anyone else that might be going to Saratoga, which starts, of course, earlier this summer than normal, and they have the Belmont again at Saratoga, which, Paul, I'm not completely ruling out, but I'll talk to you about that later, off air, because I've not been there I know you'll be there for sure. All right, guys, Gasparilla time. Let's talk about the next race. Race 5 is the Philly version of what we just talked about. It's the Gasparilla. This is for the girls 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs. Field of 7. Moorline favorite is the number 7. Win in, you're in. Interesting way it's spelling. A little play on words for Carlos David and Mr. Vasquez. 2-1. Let's see where we're going. I'm going 6-2-1. Paul's going 6-7-2. Wow. Pete's going 6-7-1. A little bit of pressure on Irad and Mr. Lynch with Mrs. Worldwide. Pete, let's go to you first. What do you like about this Lynch trainee?
Well, picking up Irad's a half decent start, but
Yeah, it's not bad.
it's not. Brian Lynch, as of the time I looked at it, had also won his last 3 on dirt at Tampa, so he's coming in nice. So this was just a horse that seems to be getting a little better. It's got some funky stuff in there because you have the race where she eased and then came out of that. They threw her on the synthetic and she didn't run great. She was pretty poor for the most part up to her standards. And then when they put her back on the dirt, she got on the lead, soft pace, state bred horses, but she got back to her winning ways. And then the last one I thought was a little more impressive, was able to actually sit off, which I like to see. Sit off and won, which she's done a couple times now. She did it at the track. She did it, she's going a little bit longer, but I don't think that's an issue based on the breeding, based on her running style. And I think she just might be getting incrementally better, and the rest of the field is just not that great. So I think if she can keep improving and you pick up Irad, who hopefully will get her the best trip, I think she makes for a pretty logical horse.
Yeah, I have her on top. I'm not real proud of it. This field is sort of meh to me in
Very
general.
meh.
I'm going pretty deep here, to be honest. I mean, I like the fact that she was game, and I had to watch the gallop out and just see what happened afterwards. And that was 110. I have a feeling she'll handle 7 just fine. You can see the gallop out was good.
Wait, Howard, real quick, you'll be very happy about this. Here's my note. Nice move to get to the lead in last, held on comfortably, and galloped out strong.
Wow.
I thought about you. I was like,
it's only taken 2.5 years for him to accept the gallop out
I even
situation.
watched it all the way. I don't even know why I watched it. I just wanted to see for some weird reason. I was like, I just want to see if she still had enough in the tank, and she did. So I even put that in my note. I figured I'd want to mention it so you'd be proud of.
I am proud, but
Peter, nature.
I do think it's important, especially with horses that are stretching out further than they have gone. She figures to set a great trip here, Paul. You've got her also. Again, sitting off the 3, who I don't have anywhere. Actually, the 3 is one of the few horses that I don't have anywhere in the mix, but I'm using many horses in this race. What would you like to add, or would you like to talk about possibly the 7 win and you're in, who I don't have anywhere, actually. Pete's got second as well.
Yeah, I just thought, the 6 was very logical here. I know that stakes win was was a Florida restricted race, but I just think the 72 number, obviously this has been a serious horse all along. 4 stakes races out of 6 starts. I think the 5 might take a little money, that not a lot, but just a little, with that grade 1 Frazette sitting there on the page. That 5's maiden win is looking like a fluke. The win at Saratoga the other horse I looked at was the rail horse, but looks like he's just going to be coming from dead last, and the rail at 7 furlongs is no bueno, to quote my uncle. So I just think that the 6 kind of lays over this field, if I'm barely being honest.
Paul, I got to tell you, and Pete, I've never been a more line maker, and I'm usually more harsh on them than I probably should be. Based on connections and breeding only, I know this horse looks slow. This horse should not be 30-1 in a 7-horse field. I'm sorry.
I agree.
This horse should be morning line 15-1, go off at like 12-1, and she still might. I mean, this breeding, I don't know why she's been on Tapeta. Maybe she's just way too damn slow. But this breeding, Medaglia d'Oro, Octave was a really good horse that wanted to go longer. I mean, I'm using almost everyone in this race, guys, and I'm using the 2 also. My negative to the 7, and we'll move on. I don't. It looks like she was better earlier in her career. I mean, you're like, Howard, her career. She's only a 3-year-old, newly turned. Well, her better numbers, guys, were her earlier. when she was her second, third start. By the way, guys, went from a 0 buyer to a 79 start, 1-2, FYI.
And 1.
winning by 7.
That's a non-registered buyer.
You're right. It's not. I apologize. You're right. Not a 0 buyer. I was completely wrong about that. Not a 0 buyer. I don't know, guys. I mean, the 7's logical. I hear you, Paul. She can win. I guess I just am devaluing the Florida bred races. Although it's not like this open company field Pete's a bunch of world beaters either. But I'm also slightly concerned about the move to Tampa. Tampa's a little quirky, guys. I don't know how you feel. This horse has never been at Tampa, never worked over Tampa. We've seen like weird, bad efforts at Tampa Bay over the years, right? But maybe she's just good enough anyway. As the favorite, I've got some reservations, but I, again, could be wrong, Pete.
One thing I liked, her papa won the Pasco, which we just talked about. So that's a fun little tidbit. Yep, won the
Good
Pasco.
point. I remember when Win won at a price, when he won the Pasco? No, he was not. Okay,
he won something at a price, right? No,
he
maybe
did.
not.
He won. Where did he win? Oh,
I thought you were. I thought that too.
Oh, his last race ever, the Forgo. There you go.
Oh, the Forgo
came from the clouds and won in the slop.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. He was a nice horse. I remember Win. That wasn't that long ago. Nice horse.
I think it depends here what the pace looks like, because the three is obviously pretty fast, and it depends on whether anyone goes with the 3 and sort of softens it up. And if you don't like the 3 and you think that was a little bit of a fool's gold kind of race, then maybe we could get a little bit of pace with horses that are going to be run down. But again, the horses running them down aren't all that great either. So who the hell? I'm with you on the 1. I had the 1 as an A when I first went through.
Wow.
When I saw 30-1, and it was purely a hunch play, because I was like, I just really liked the breeding, and I was like, why is this horse not on dirt? We're going to get a little bit of extra distance, not enough. I still would, maybe 2 turns would be nice, but I was like, I kind of like this horse, and I kept leaving her on, and I'm like, 30-1. What the hell are they talking about? But we'll see.
I don't know. It hasn't run since September. It's not like the horse can't improve several lengths and 20 points. I mean, I don't know.
We'll see.
Maybe I should use the 3 as low. Maybe the 3's going to wire the field at 6-1. I'm going to look stupid, but anyway, I think you got to go deep in the Gasparilla. Let's go on to race 6, guys. This is the only non-grade stake we're going to talk about at Tampa Bay tonight. Nice main special weight race on the turf, mile and a 16th. This is for, however, older fillies and mares. Pretty big field of 10. There are several also. There's one MTO, but this race is not going to be switched to the dirt based on the weather forecast. 12, 13, 14 might get in, I think, and the 12 and 13 could be a factor, guys, if they get in. In fact, one of them you'll see is on my list of picks here. Moyline favorite in the main body of the field is, of course, Chad Brown and Irad, the number 2, back to Gridlock, a Kentucky bred. Let's see where we go here in this race. And we are pretty similar, guys. I'm going 7, 9, 12. Paul's going 9, 7, 10. And Pete's going 9, 10, 7. It's amazing, guys, in a turf maiden at Tampa, where Chad is excellent. He's got the morning line favorite in the main body of the field, and not one of us has this horse in the top 3. I got to tell you, I know why the horse is 3-1 because the name, but I'll tell you what, I don't see it at all. Not only that, she's 5. So we'll talk about that.
She wins for fun, basically, is what you're saying?
I don't think so.
She wins for fun, guys. I don't even know what to say. Let's talk about Enchant, 7-2. Mike Deeney, a guy I know very well, used to train in Chicago, is sort of a sneaky trainer. Marin is a decent jock. Pete, what do you like about Enchant, the 9?
Oh, I just thought so. It has a couple nice races at the distance and at Tampa. Hasn't been able to get the win. Obviously, we're in a maiden race, but has run well enough to win races. Just hasn't actually. It's one of those weird ones. It's like you run well enough to win, but when do you get to the point where the losing becomes what you're good at instead of actually winning? And she's getting to that point, but I think the last 2, I like that we had the trainer switch. So at least the last 2 were under Deeney, where maybe he can get a better feel for her and figure out, okay, what's the reason why she just can't finish these races? But I do think she's tactical, but also I think she could be on the lead. So it depends on how the race flow goes. I think if she breaks and maybe the other speed doesn't, you see on the time form there, you got the 4 on the inside, the 10 on the outside. But if she can outbreak them a bit, then I think she's comfortable enough to put on the lead. Even the last one, she wasn't really a threat to the winner, but when American Dreamer passed, or I forget who it was, if there was a American Dreammaker passed her or somebody passed her, and she fought back and just showed a lot of heart down the lane. And I just think the 3rd with this trainer maybe can get another move forward. She's been trending back upward to what her form was before under Brenda Walsh. So in a field that I don't love, I didn't love the race. I thought she was pretty logical.
Yeah, I mean, I used her for second. She can win, obviously. She could get loose if she's honest. I do not like. Well, she's consistent. I'll tell you that. But Paul, I just don't like 71, 69, 70, 70, 71. I mean, I don't know what her ceiling is, and if her ceiling is 70, I just think a fresh face might beat her. And that fresh face that you and I are both thinking about, and I didn't see the morning line until literally right now, is the number 7 Meekat for Arnold Delacour, who's excellent. Good first time out as well. This is a Kitten's Joy out of a Master Craftsman mare, Off Limits. Off Limits, if you call, was a nice horse, everyone. Off Limits won $735,000, mainly in New York, but really was a grade 1, grade 2 animal for Chad. This is a really nice horse. I'm actually a little surprised that Chad doesn't train this horse just because of the dam here. I will say one negative, and you know what, guys, we need to do this more often, and that's on me. Under statistics, if you go under statistics, and I wondered this forever, Matt Miller, if you're listening, I finally found out, and I want to thank Chris Couples for this, by the way. If you go under statistics, there's a lot of things that, frankly, I don't look at a lot that I should. The one I've been looking at lately, guys, is the scratch board. If you go to scratch board, and it's a little bit hard to see, and I can't make it bigger, to be honest, but these were the horses that are running on Saturday and the reasons why they've been scratched. And you got to pay attention. Like, for example, Meekat, Paul, was a vet scratch on December 21st, which obviously is not a great sign. So I guess I'm being hypocritical because we're picking her. We're picking her. But I just want to see there are different reasons why a horse would scratch. For example, Pete, there's Naughty Rascal, and there's Tessatura, who's the horse that we talked about, the 30-1. I don't know if you guys can see that, but she was scratched out of a stake race by the stewards. I'm not sure why, but what that tells me, guys, is the number 1 in the previous race was already meant for a stake. To me, that's an upgrade, right? So you got an upgrade with one horse, maybe a downgrade with the vet scratch. But again, people like a DR formulator, Paul, check that out under statistics. Scratch board, that can be helpful. Yes.
Funny, I never looked at that. I use the statistics a lot too, but I never clicked on that one for some reason. So that's good to know.
So that's why. So I didn't like this break in the work, Paul. That was one of my main concerns on Meekat. That's part of the reason why she was a vet scratch. Now came back and worked well. I just have a hard time believing Delacour is not going to run her if she's not ready. This is a PA bred, but it is a slight concern. I just want to bring up, even though I've got her on top and you've got her second.
Yeah. The only thing, Howard, on what you said about the 9, which is the horse they picked, I kind of think that 70 or 71 might be good enough to win this race.
I think you could be right.
Honestly, that's where when I looked at the race, and that was my initial reaction. Okay, we know this horse is going to run about a 70. And then I looked around. I'm with you guys, and again, we could all be wrong, but if we're going to provide any potentially valuable information, this is a 5-year-old maiden, this Chad horse, who has, go to the dam side. There's no turf pedigree whatsoever.
Zero.
None. Zero.
She did run a 7 buyer at Canterbury going 5 furlongs.
And with Chad and now Irad, that the horse is probably going to be, it could be less than 3-1. So look, hey, look, this horse beats you. This is what you do. You just do this. Just take the hat right off.
Well, she might be loose on. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say loose. The 9s can't be that far off, which is actually another reason why I don't like her. Right? If she was like loose on paper, I'm like, okay, maybe it's Klarovich. Maybe she takes to the turf and gets lucky. But when your main other competition is also speed, I mean, this is a horse I don't want to say hate, but strongly dislike.
Doesn't the Clement's horse have to be forward just because of the post position? Way out there on the 10?
Well, let's talk about the 10 real quick.
Go ahead. Hector Diaz getting a shot to ride for Clement. So. He's going to be aggressive. So the 10, the Clement on a trainer switch, maiden on turf is 1 for 7. However, that last race that the 10 came out of, Howard, 3 horses have run back and their average, I love talking about the average buyer regression,
they are.
is 26 points.
Lovely.
26.3 if I'm being accurate with my math teacher friend on the line.
I think we covered that card, and I hated Autumn. That was an awful field. Awful field. So, yes.
I had that horse on the show, I think, and it got
I think
way
you
down.
did.
Yeah,
I
because
think
you guys were poo-pooing it. And
we
I was
did.
like,
Wasn't she 0 for 16 or something?
yeah, she was like one of those. She was a weird horse, and I forget what the circumstances were, but
yeah, she was 0 for 11 before that. And
yeah,
just a
and I
bunch
was
of
like,
math.
yeah, she's gonna get it this time on the lead
You were
from
right.
the rail. Yeah,
you were right. She was a 5-year-old,
and everybody else thought the same thing because morning line, she was not even the favorite. I don't think she was.
I don't think
she was
so.
like second, third choice or something.
Guys, I think you got to pay attention to who gets in this race, and I don't know if the 12 is going to get in. The 11's 4-1 on. Actually, that's a main track. Sorry,
11 won't.
The 12's in a Starship Boeing. I think is a major player if she gets in. And look, guys, she's 6. Okay, 6-year-old maidens I despise, but look at the numbers. I mean, she fits. We just talked about Autumn, who was 0 for 11, winning it as a 5-year-old. Maybe she'll be too far back, but I mean, she really fits here. If she gets in the race, you got to consider elite status also, right? If coming out of the Autumn race, I mean, so we got to pay attention to the AEs, guys. I think, right?
I like the 12. I didn't like the 13, but the 12 I would definitely put on my. I would have had the 12 in my top 3 if I was using AEs probably.
Okay, let's get on the last race, guys, because we got another show to do tonight. In a little bit at 9:30 Eastern. By the way, in case anyone wonders, no one's watching because it's a boring game as predicted. It's a whopping 3-0 game. Penn State Notre Dame in the middle of the second quarter. That I'm not an over/under, guys, but I'll tell you what, I would have taken the under. It could still end up being over. I shouldn't say that now. Now it sounds stupid because it's only 3-0.
It's not going over, Howard. Don't worry.
What was it? 45, I think, was the over/under.
It was higher than it should be.
This smelled like a 13-10 kind of game, didn't it, Pete? It just felt that way.
No, I have the under, so I'm with you. So I hope they keep going. I hope they keep going like this.
Let's talk about the wayward last, guys. The last race of this middle pick 4. There's a middle pick 4. That's what we're covering on the dirt for the girls. $100,000, mile 16th. Older fillies and mares. Morning favorite, and this sort of surprised me. Boy, the IRAD love is anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's the New York Gulfstream. 2-1. 2-1. And let me get the pronunciation right. I wrote it down. This is Peignoir is how it's pronounced. Peignoir. 2-1. The number 1 horse, Rudy Brisset, IRAD. Let's see if we're gonna go with Peignoir. Well, yeah, 2 people are. Not me though. I'm going 8-1-3. Paul's going 1-8-4. Pete's going 1-4-8. Paul, Peignoir from the rail. Rudy, IRAD said a nice trip.
Yeah, well, there are advantages and disadvantages to handicapping without the morning line. I don't know that, I knew this horse would be one of the logicals, but interestingly, by the way, this horse is entered in a listed stakes at Turfway tomorrow night. So,
yes, cross that.
I don't know.
Would that be a carryover pick 5, by the way, Paul, by any chance?
I've heard.
I might be interested. I might be interested in playing it. Carryovers have been good to me lately.
It would be.
I should say us lately.
Yes, I guess there would be some intent. This horse has been in Kentucky the whole time and has entered a Turfway. So, you always talk about intent out. There would be some pretty good intent if they ship down just for this race. But I don't know what direction they're going to go. I haven't heard anything. But, I think I like the post position on this horse. I think tactical speed, IRAD, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to take, you see Torpedo Anna on the page. That knocks 1 point off the odds right there, second to Torpedo Anna. So, I like the horse. Do I want a better flat at 2-1? Only at gunpoint.
By the way, Bill, we love you. He's got to go to listen to the Scotty and Justin on EE. And look, we love the Equine Edge guys, but really, Bill?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Bill.
no, I mean, we love him, but
man. I mean, really.
Who's leaving to see him?
That's pretty disappointing. Thanks to Tom, by the way, who said nice comments to me about. Jim used nitrogen as a single that won him some bets, and thank you for that compliment. I guess Matt Miller might be a little under the weather. Is that he's under the weather? I don't know.
In
They're talking
a
about
shocking, it truly shocking development, people came home from Mexico sick. It never happens.
yeah, exactly. I heard the like Nova virus or the stomach flu is like worse like this season on cruises than it's been in a long time. So go figure. Yeah, look, I guess this horse can win 2-1 though. Pete seems
Yeah, I
awfully
hear
low
you.
to me.
I
I
hear
don't.
you.
I
Yeah.
mean, he doesn't lay. She doesn't lay over the field. You've got the 4 in second. American Retro. This is an interesting horse, Pete. 10-1. What you talking about? Retro going turf to dirt, but her dirt numbers really aren't that bad.
Well, that's what the thing was. I was actually surprised at the 10. I thought she would be a little bit high, but the 10 actually surprised me. You said it though. She started off on dirt, switched to turf, and was a little bit up and down on the turf. But getting back to the dirt. I mean, if you're just talking from a number standpoint, she's not too far off, like you said. And those numbers were at 4. Those numbers were last year. So
Yep.
if she could push forward a little bit, or she could move forward, I should say, off those numbers on the dirt, it puts her right in the same mix as the 2-1 favorite. So I didn't mind that. Plus, she had a couple nice works. You see the work 3 back, a bullet with 47. There's just some decent work. So we know she can run on the dirt. She's not like one of those turf horses who you're just unsure about. Ian Wilkes, 3 for 7 wins, 4 for 7 of the money, non-graded stakes, dirt routes in 2024. And that doesn't say much, but at least you know that at this level, he can get some horses ready. And I like that she passed horses. I know we say that a lot, but she's shown the ability to pass horses and actually win races. She did it. She did it 2 back, albeit on the turf. She still showed that ability because I think that's the kind of trip she's going to get here. So again, if we can get a little bit of pace, she's on dirt though. She was closer, so it's funny because I don't know if that style was turf driven or if that's just her new style being further back, or will she revert back to what she was doing on the dirt? I'm not really sure. Okay.
No, I need some clarification. Noah Maher's here from in the chat from Pacific Horse Players. He said American Retro worked with Camp Hale, who I know who's running on Saturday, like the number 9, the favorite, like one of late pick 5, got smoked. Now, no, who got smoked? Did American Retro outwork Camp Hale or other way around?
I assume American Retro got
Yeah,
smoked.
American
Is what he's
Retro.
saying.
I would
Yeah.
think so,
Yeah.
but these works are pretty damn fast. How's I mean, how
That might
fast
say
did Camp
more
Hale
about
work?
Camp Hale than about American Retro, though. Yeah, that might say.
I'd like to know. Let's see. The maiden outworked American Retro. Okay. Any thoughts then, Pete? Does that
No, I don't
poo-poo
care
you?
about that. No, because the
Wow.
works. I don't. No, I just don't care about that much because I'm
Okay.
not too worried
Fair enough.
about. I have to see the work, and I'm not a work guy. I mean, I'm not a
Okay.
work guy. As long as the horse is working okay, I think when you get to the race, depends on what the field is. And again, I didn't love this field that much, so I think at
Okay.
a price, I'll include her on the ticket regardless.
I'll save my plays here for a minute from now, but guys, I'm very, very interested in little Jamie. And by the way, Matt said he's very sick. Sorry, Matt. I'm sorry to hear that. Anyway, I like little Jamie guys quite a bit here. I like the price. What I like most is it looks like she's better on the outside. I mean, maybe the post has nothing to do with it, but her last 2 races were so much worse than her other ones, guys. And you can't really say it's a Churchill thing because she ran okay at Churchill, but she had the rail and the 2-hole. Maybe she doesn't want to be stuck down inside. I have to do a little more research. I got to watch some replays, guys. That's a very nitpicky, specific angle if it's true. But it just looks like her wider posts are better, Paul, and she's going to be sitting off the speed, and she's got some back numbers. I don't love the 1 for 12, but again, this is a bit of a math field, and I don't really want to take a low price, especially not the rail horse, Paul.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little put off by the 5/3, but if you look at it a little deeper, I mean that Monmouth Oaks race, that wins. That wins this race. Let's just
Yes.
call it
And
spade a
Shottless
spade.
before that, or Chatalis before that,
Right.
right?
So,
She's faced some good horses. Miss Justify,
yes.
Chatalis, Sidamara. I think she might have a little bit of a class edge, perhaps.
I thought she was
Paul.
going to be lower when I thought her odds would have been lower. It surprised me the 9-2 just from the
Okay.
like what you're talking about the class standpoint.
Yep. Let's go ahead and just right to our picks, guys, and end the show because we have another show coming up, and I think we covered everything we needed to here for Tampa Bay. Whoops, I hit the private chat instead of the comments or the banner. Maybe I can press the right buttons here, guys. Okay, Paul, your best bet, sir. You're going to race 5 with a daily double, 6 with 7, 9, 10. Feel free to expound for 30
Yeah,
seconds or so.
that was the world Miss Worldwide. The horse I said I thought kind of laid over that field.
Okay.
And just playing with my top 3 selections in the next race, which are Enchant, Just One More, and Mecat.
Very nice. That's the first time started for Mr. Delacour. Pete's best bets. Saturday, Tampa Bay Downs, middle pick 4 between races 4 and 7. He's going to race 6. He's going to go with the daily double, starting with the aforementioned turf race that Paul just talked about, 7, 9, 10, with the 1, that'd be Pain War, correct? You are
Yes.
singling?
Yep. Yeah.
And a win bet on Pain War. How low would a price would you accept on that horse?
I'm not sure. When I this was apologies. This was pre morning line.
No worries.
I don't think I would bet I don't think I would even bet a win bet at 2 to excuse me, at 2 to 1. It's a little low for a horse that I liked. I picked the best bet out of this sequence, but it's not like a super strong. It was just more of I didn't have a strong lead that I wanted to put as a best bet in any other races. So I just like this horse. I like the position. But not necessarily 2 to 1, I would say. But I would, 5 to 2, 3 to 1, maybe 3 to 1 would be ideal in this field with the post. But it's not anything that jumps out at me and says I have to bet this horse to win. No.
Okay. Paul Conlon wants an Uncle Jim update. And I could be cheeky and say, who's that? But you guys know I'm looking at the work tabs. I mean, come on, really? Uncle Jim has only worked twice since his poor effort in New York, but there's reasons why. He was off the week after. Most of the horses don't work a week after they run. He worked fine 2 weeks after. And then 3 weeks after is when they had that bad weather in New York, guys, and it was wet. And so no one really worked. And he has since worked, guys, third of 90 and like 48-4. And you're like 48-4. As Paul knows, the weather's been very cold in the Northeast, and these times have been slow at Aqueduct. So I don't really care about the actual time, but it was third best of 90. I would expect Uncle Jim to work probably this weekend and then probably run in a maiden race, guys, relatively soon. I would say next few weeks. I mean, if I want any chance at all for Uncle Jim to be even considered to be a Derby horse, he's got to break his maiden. He's got to do it in the next month, and then he's got to, continue to improve. It's not too late. He just didn't quite get off to the Derby Trail start that I was hoping. But that's the Uncle Jim update. Interviewing Brad Cox, Paul, I don't see that happening right now, but we'll try. Maybe.
Well, we'll get a long time between now and then.
Yeah, we got a long time for that. All right, very quickly. My best bets. I'm going to race 7. I like Little Jamie quite a bit, guys. I'm going to wheel Little Jamie or Key Jamie in first and second. I'm going to go 8 with 1, 2, 3, 9, and also back wheel at same exacta because I don't have a huge opinion of this race. 1, 2, 3, 9 with 8, and try to get Little Jamie in first or second with some other horses. That is my opinion. We have a quick, I believe, but important rant of the week. We'll skip the banner for now because, Paul doesn't need that always. We have a quick rant of the week from Mr. Paul Howard, and then we'll drop off, take a little break, and come back for great race plays at 9:30 Eastern. Mr. Halloran, what say you, sir?
Yeah, just positive. I want to send out congratulations to my colleague. I'm proud to say my colleague, Sean Clancy. Sean won one of the 2. There are only 2 Media Eclipse Writing Awards. He won it in 2023, as you recall, for his fantastic story on the test and the ill-fated Maple Leaf Mel. And he came back with this year's Travers story, Fierceness over Torpedo Anna, winning again in the news category. And I got to tell you, it's great for Sean. It's great for the paper. 2 years ago, Tom Law won for Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred, but of course, Tom is the managing editor of the Special. I clunked up for an honorable mention 2 years ago. and then Sean won last year, and Sean, so it's not a huge staff, but I'm really, really proud to be a part of it, and to win it 2 years in a row is really that's bringing Sean to kind of the next level. So congrats to Sean Clancy.
Yes, congrats to Sean Clancy. And Pete, I heard Paul's gallop out was tremendous that year, which means he will be winning the real thing at some point soon. But yeah, congratulations.
Now, Paul, all you need is a zero buyer, and Howard will put money on you next year. Then you'll be ready.
Well, Howard, I wanted for the forego, and I galloped it out into a book.
There you go.
So I'll tell you what, that worked out pretty well too. Absolutely. Final shout out. Final shout out, guys. We got literally like 95 more follows on X and a bunch of emails and shout outs for a particular reason, because last weekend I had a very nice score, one of my best scores I've had in a while, a $28,000, or actually almost $29,000 with the Consos pick six, which Paul was a part of, and a bunch of our other talent was a part of. And so I just want to shout out to everyone who said thanks, congrats, because that was a hell of a way to start out 2025. For my wonderful co-hosts, Pete Visco, Paul Howard, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 388 of Picks and Ponies. Make sure you check us out in half an hour. Great race plays. We already discussed the possible late pick for Sunday, but we're also going to talk about some other things going on at San Anita. Thanks for joining us. Crush your bets at the Bay, Tampa Bay, this weekend. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.